the president is considering a cabinet shakeup. What are you learning on this front?
Yeah, this is some reporting that we're doing tonight with my colleagues Elena Treen and Kristen Holmes. We have confirmed from multiple sources, John, that the president has been talking privately recently about replacing the Attorney General Pam Bondi, firing her from her role running the Justice Department, and actually instead putting the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin in that position. Now, it's not confirmed yet that he is going to oust her. We have not gotten reporting that he's made a final decision on this. You can see this is her today as she was getting in the motorcade, actually, with the president to go with him to the Supreme Court to listen to those hearings on birthright citizenship. But the president's attitude on her, John, for the last several months really has been quite sour. And a lot of it has to do with the backlash over the handling of the Epstein investigation. The president doesn't like the headlines they're getting. They don't like the negative response that they're getting even from Republicans, from their base, and folks on Capitol Hill. And also, John, ahead of this 2-week deadline where Pam Bondi is supposed to go and testify on Capitol Hill because they subpoenaed her, including Republicans on that committee, the House Oversight Committee. And so the White House has been eyeing that deadline. It's April 14th, I believe, that she's set to go and testify as a date. And this is something the president had been talking about back in January. It appeared to subside a bit, John, and then now has kind of resurrected itself, where this is a conversation we started hearing from sources was really heating up in the West Wing on Monday. But one thing that, I've talked to people, it's not even clear to them if this is actually going to happen. The president talks a lot about this. It's not clear if he'll follow through on it. And he did issue a statement tonight calling Pam Bondi a wonderful person and saying that she's doing a good job. And so we'll see if that shakes out here. He also similarly stood by Kristi Noem until he didn't, John. And so we'll have to wait and see what the president himself ultimately decides when it comes to Pam Bondi running the Justice Department.
So let's start off, first of all, with Pam Bondi. What is the sense, Aaron, why now, if she is set to go?
It's a really good question. I think that, we talked about the Epstein files. That's been a saga that's been playing out really for more than a year right now. But we've also seen in recent weeks, especially in recent months, these attempts to target Trump's political opponents that have kind of coursed through the DOJ. And we see this pop up every once in a while and then kind of fade away. Those haven't gone very well. Some of these cases, they did get indictments, then the indictments were thrown out. The Jerome Powell investigation hasn't exactly gone to plan. There's reporting that suggests that some of these investigations have ramped up as some of the pressure has increased on Bondi. But we haven't really seen that kind of retribution campaign that Trump has talked about really being brought forward. And so it kind of makes me wonder, if President Trump is looking at Bondi's stewardship of the Justice Department right now, what successes is he seeing in his mind, the things that he's really looking for? And I'm not sure he's necessarily seeing those.
Which then makes me wonder, too, let's say, Mike, Pam Bondi is out. Let's say Lee Zeldin ends up there, for example, or anyone else. Do you anticipate, because some of the roadblocks, frankly, that this DOJ has run into is a lack of evidence for what the president would like to see happen? What actually changes if the person at the top changes, if the facts don't change?
So,
Great question.
So to answer your first question, though, what changed? Kristi Noem is no longer taking all the flack to begin with. So Pam Bondi was second in line for the media and everyone else to come after. So I think that's part of it. I think your point is well taken. Pam Bondi has done for the president what Pete Sessions couldn't do in the first administration. And that's basically run an organization that is pursuing a lot of the efforts that the president wants her to pursue. I don't find the reporting on him questioning whether she should go or stay to be all that fascinating, because he does that all the time. And I don't think that's actually new. Maybe it's ratcheted up a little bit. But this is, from my experience, this is Trump being Trump.
This is maybe Trump being Trump, right? But do you think, given that, as you just pointed out, now Kristi Noem is gone, more attention on Pam Bondi?
There is, but we can't forget that she was easily replaced by a fellow senator, Markwayne Mullin, who was able to go through a confirmation hearing. A confirmation hearing for DOJ is not going to be as smooth with a Lee Zeldin, who doesn't have those relationships. So we got to look at the entire picture here and what is the art of the possible. And I'm not sure replacing Pam Bondi prior to the midterms is possible.
There's also looking at the whole picture, I find this to be a fascinating through line between the Pam Bondi reporting and what we saw at the Supreme Court yesterday. President Trump being there. And to me, the through line is President Trump, and he's been very clear about this publicly, he has certain expectations of people that he puts in certain positions. That includes the justices. And there was a lot made about him being at the court yesterday and what is the message that sends. The court sent its own message back in terms of their questioning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were not falling for it. This clearly is not constitutional what he is trying to do, but I think he tries to go there to intimidate them. Like, I put you here, and they're sort of like, we don't care that we answer to the Constitution, not to you. But also with Pam Bondi, she's supposed to she's scheduled to testify in the Oversight Committee hearing here coming soon, which is going to bring the Epstein files right back into view for everyone again, which I think that he was trying to get out of view. And I mean, Susie Wiles has blamed her. I think Donald Trump blames her for the handling of the Epstein files. And a lot of the first year of the administration was very marred with those sorts of stories over and over, and it's not going away. And I think that maybe he thinks that getting rid of her takes that away, but I think it just creates more problems for someone else, because then someone's going to want a review of it. There's going to be investigations happening if a new person comes in. It's going to be a mess, just like you said.
It's going to be another mess.
Yeah, it's going to be another mess.
How much of a sense is there within the administration that, given the mess that could be brought up with any changes, that it's a reason to stick with the status quo?
I mean, Mike brings up a very good point. If you look at who is on the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, Tom Tillis is an increasingly critical voice of the administration. He has drawn a hard line when it comes to Trump's nominee for the Federal Reserve. He's spoken out against some of these tendencies that we've seen in the Justice Department. It's a really good question. Are they going to be able to get a replacement through that committee? Will they be able to get it through, but will it be the kind of person that Trump wants in that position? Are they going to be able to get somebody? Maybe a Lee Zeldin could get through, but somebody who might be a little bit more gloves off with doing some of the things that Trump wants, maybe they'll have a tougher time.
Joining us in our fifth seat is former federal prosecutor Temidayo Aganga-Williams. Temidayo, is it surprising to you that the president wants to jettison Pam Bondi at this stage?
It's not surprising, because I think she's been a terrible AG. I think what's surprising is that the core of her issue is that she has been politically loyal to him and not the rule of law. So what does surprise me is that again and again, she has desecrated this department. I served as a former federal prosecutor. As a federal prosecutor, I was proud. I thought it was a patriotic job. And what she has done again and again is choose Trump over country. So for him to fire her and point to the Epstein files, that's actually her standing behind him. She's completely, she screwed the roll-up of that, but it's not because she was trying to do the right thing. It's because again and again, she was trying to obstruct justice in rolling out the so-called client list that she said existed. She said it was going to be released. Now there's no list. In handling redactions and taking the amount of federal agents from doing things like counterterrorism, she put them on handling thousands of names, seeking President Trump's name and redacting him. So do I think he should fire her? Yes. But for the reasons that he's going to do it, absolutely not.
And let's not forget, he said on Truth Social that, Pam, I've reviewed over 30 statements saying essentially, same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is being done. He wants political prosecutions, and I guess he was, in her defense, I guess she was attempting to, but we still have a justice system in this country that has a say in this as well.
Turns out Pam Bondi, Lindsey Halligan, none of these people are enough for Donald Trump to overcome the checks and balances that we have. I was going to cite that same Truth Social post because in that, he is directly making sure his Attorney General is following his orders. He named 3 people. 2 out of those 3 people were then indicted, were then targeted. It's such a clear example of weaponization. Nothing like that existed under the Biden administration. Nothing like that has existed before. So it's new.
Who were they indicted by? Who indicted them?
The
Trump
Eastern
appointed Attorney General.
Yeah.
The grand jury.
Yeah.
Issued the indictment. Sorry.
Well, no, the grand jury issued the indictment, but didn't Lindsey Halligan literally fudge up one of the charges? Am I right?
There was a question on her appointment and whether or not it was legal, and that
was it. No, it's also that she gave incorrect law to the grand jury, and I think citing the grand jury is somehow,
which the judge caught, by the way, and that was part of the reason she was removed from that case.
Yes, but she never should have been in the job in the first place, and I think it's wrong to point to the grand jury somehow a stamp of approval. As everyone says, you can indict a ham sandwich. So saying that a grand jury approved something. I've been in a lot of grand juries. There's only one person in there representing. That's the government. There's no counter to your argument. It's not hard to indict people.
I just thought that
weren't
was
there
the
a couple of
standard when Trump
instances
was
where they
having
failed to
indictments
get the
against
grand
him.
jury to actually indict, and so they had to kind of shop it around, essentially?
Yes, some grand juries have declined. So obviously they do make judgments even when they're asked to do things. What I'm hearing broad agreement at the table is that we have a functioning government with checks and balances. And in fact, we don't have a king in this country, I guess. We just have a functioning constitutional democracy right now. Yeah. If I were in Pam Bondi's shoes, and obviously some people have had gripes with her, I think her best argument for why she has succeeded would be to tell the president, look, one of your biggest successes is the massive drop in crime in this country, homicides, robberies, all this violence. We have seen huge drops in crime. If I were in her shoes and giving her PR advice, that's what I would tell her to argue. I don't know if it would be enough to assuage the concerns that apparently are being had, but that's how I'd probably argue it. Like, on your watch, with me as Attorney General, you have overseen a historic drop in crime and in making this country safe. That would be a good argument. Now, on Zeldin, by the way, I'll just say for his part, highly respected, major accomplishments, and a lot of respect for him and what he's been able to do at EPA. So I would say his stock is definitely
It's not a brag that our institutions are holding from the guy that you're defending trying to destroy them.
Lee Zeldin would have a tough job ahead of him.